So for today, we'll continue talk about recurrent neural network, in particular LSTM, and also talk about attention mechanism, and then we'll talk about the transformer architecture. Okay, so for the lecture, last lecture, we mainly talk about the structure of recurrent neural network and the mechanism of the recurrent neural network, right? So the main difference between the recurrent neural network as the fully connected or convolutional neural network is that it has these memory cell to store the memory. So you can use that as another input, right, when you process the next input or go to the next state. So we use this kind of slot filling as an example to demonstrate, right? So why do we need this kind of memory to help us decide, right, or correctly understand the context? So in this case, we are able to correctly determine is this going to be the destination or maybe the place of departure, right? Although when we process a specific word like Orlando, right? So leave Orlando on November the 2nd, or arrive Orlando on November the 2nd. So although when we process Orlando, right, so because of the previous word or input is going to be different, and we have those hidden state or values stored in the memory cell, and using that as additional input when you process the word Orlando here, then the output going to be different. So in this case, we are able to kind of using the context to make the accurate prediction. So we are also, you probably also heard this long short-term memory, short for LSTM, as a special type of recurrent neural network. So let's look at the main component or the building blocks of the LSTM unit. So basically, there's a couple of parts or input to the LSTM cell. So you have this input gate, and there's also going to be a signal to control this input gate. Okay, either we consider, are we going to open this gate, how much we open this gate, or we're going to completely close the gate. Okay, and we also have the output, and also we have the signal to control the output gate. Okay. And the special about the LSTM, it also has these so-called forget gate, right? So this is going to be associated with the memory cell, right? So this will also be controlled by a signal, right? So how much we want to remember or how much we want to forget, right, from the value we previously stored in this memory cell. Okay. So these are the basic structure of this LSTM unit. And so here we have special neurons, right? We have 4 inputs and we have 1 output. And we can, using this and work through specifics of the how these different gates and the control signals will work. So we have an input here, we denote as Z, okay? And we also have an input signal, Zi, right, to I indicating this is the input gate, and this is going to be the control signal for this input gate. And we also have a signal, right, for ZF. This is F indicating this forget gate. And we also have this ZO indicating the signal for this output, controlling the output gate. Okay. And A here is our output. And initially, there may be a value C stored in this memory cell. Okay. And let's see how this LSTM unit works. So here, the G is activation function. Okay, so this can be sigmoid or 10H or any other activation function. So here we have the input. Z go through this activation function, we have GZ, okay? And zi will also go through this activation function. So we have fzi. So usually this activation function f, right, is a sigmoid function, right? So this can be the same for the input gate, forget gate, and this output gate. Okay, so this is typically a sigmoid function because they can map any of the value, right, the input value between zero and 1. And this is kind of mimic this open and a close mechanism, right? So 1 is we want to open the gate, and 0 means we'll completely close it. So then we have this multiplication, right? So we have gz multiply with fzi. Okay, so fzi is going to be a number or value between 0 and 1. And similarly, here we also have this this signal go through this activation sigmoid here. We generate the value fzf. Okay, and previously we have a value c stored in the memory, right? So then we multiply the c with this fzf, and we also consider the value, right, coming from the input, right? So we have gz times fzi. Okay, so now we have, when we do the summation, and we're gonna using this denote this as a c prime, right? This is gonna be a new value stored in this memory cell. So as you can see here, right? So we have a term c multiplied with zf, right? So this is kind of the FZF is control, like how much memory we want to retain, right, from the previous step, right? How much we need for the previous value of C, right? If we want to totally forget, right, what the previous value C, then maybe this control signal here will generate output value close to 0, right? Which means maybe we don't need to consider the previous memory value, right? So we add a 0 or close to 0, right? If previous memory is very useful, like the example we provided, right? The departure or arrive. So those information are very useful to help the prediction of the next input. Then we definitely maybe need to have a large value to retain the previous memory value, right? So we can understand the context better. Okay. So then we have the C prime, then we put it into the memory cell. And so this is going to be updated. And I'll go through another activation function. And we multiply with the output from the output gate, and we generate the output. Okay, so basically these are the internal mechanism of this LSTM unit. Okay. So those are the fundamental or basics of the recurrent neural network and LSTM. So for the modern recurrent neural networks, there's also some variants or advancement or changes that help for maybe improve the performance for specific task. So here, this bidirectional recurrent neural network, and similar idea can be applied to LSTM. To form this bidirectional LSTM is a combination, actually a combination of two RNNs training the network in opposite direction. So here is a graph illustration, right? So this bidirectional RNN network. So you have a forward pass, right? So we can process from input x1 to xt. Okay, so a sequence of lengths t. And we can also do the backwards, right? So in the opposite direction, do the opposite, right? So we can do, we can have these two paths, and so hopefully these two paths can make a better context or understand the context better. Okay. So although the recurrent neural network is able to injecting some of the memories, right, or bring the memory notion to the network, it also has several limitations, right? So for one is the computation over positions cannot be parallelized, right? This is because, for the maybe just using this one. So we always have to wait this this input has been processed, and you wait till this memory and using that as the additional input to the next unit, right? So in this case, it cannot be cannot do this parallel computing, right? So we always have to wait, for the previous step has been completed, then we can continue. And also, the other advantage limitation is the long-range interactions are bottlenecked by a fixed size memory. So maybe when we're dealing with a very long sequence and we are not able to capture a very long-range interactions, especially like if we have like a paragraph, or if there's a entire page or entire article, which is very long sequence, right? And it's very difficult or challenging to capture these long-range interactions. And another example is if we are dealing with the data as videos, right? So understand this long-term context is also very important, right? For some of the tasks like event understanding, right? We could have very complex event which may composed of sub actions, right? So we need to understand the order or the correlation of those sub actions. Then we are able to understand the entire event. So that requires a very long range understanding or interaction. But this is actually a limitation for this RM because of the fixed size memory. So the first one is easy to understand, right? So if it cannot be parallel computing, then we are not able to take advantage of some of the computing power, right? So we can look at several example applications using RN. So here a list several applications here. So one is the activity recognition, right? So the input will be a sequence of frames, right? We can treat each frame as a separate input, right? We can apply a convolutional neural network to extract some of the features, and using that as the input feature embedding to recurrent neural network, such as LSTM, to model some of the correlation between or among the frames. Then we can generate the output of a particular action label. Image description, similarly, we can take the image and we using convolutional neural network to extract some of the features, or we can even divide these into small regions and capture the local features, right? And then we can model their correlation using LSTM, and it will generate output sentence to describe the content presented in this image. So similarly, we can do this for video description, right? To generate a description for each frame, or generate a general description for the entire video. Okay. Yeah, so here, this is just a more detailed illustration, right? How we do this using combined CM with recurrent neural networks or LSTM to do the activity recognition.